Okay, awesome. So yeah, feel free to write any questions you have that come up throughout the presentation. We're going to have a Q&A at the end. And also, we're going to be sending this deck and the recording after the call through a knowledge base article so all of your team can access it at any time. Getting started here, for those of you who do not know myself, I'm Katie O'Han. I'm on the customer success team, and Kelsey is going to be co-hosting this webinar. She's our Vice President of Customer Operations, and I'm sure many of you know Kelsey, but just wanted to provide a quick intro there. The value behind this session, we want you to understand how real clients are using labor reports, learning which labor reports are most valuable to our customer base and why, discovering insights that drive better decisions, see how these reports support operations, cost management, and planning. We want you to be empowered by your own usage, identifying opportunities to improve your workflow by adopting proven reporting practices, and get inspired by real world use cases. So showcasing you examples of what our current clients are using the most out of labor reports and showing you practical ways these reports deliver value. For an agenda, we're going to walk through high level. I'm assuming everyone on here has labor, but if not, we want to be sure to cover our bases and give you a labor module overview. Then we're going to dive into what are labor reports and why do they matter. We also want to cover what those top 10 used labor reports are, and then we will wrap up with a Q&A, as I mentioned at the top of the call. Getting into labor management. So Inflow's labor management software is tailored for the hotel industry. It enhances operational efficiency by seamlessly integrating with existing systems to streamline scheduling and time tracking. This solution automates key processes, adjusts staffing in real time based on hotel occupancy, and ensures compliance with labor laws, significantly reducing labor costs and administrative overhead. The key 5 pillars to what makes our labor management tool so amazing are the intelligent models, forecasting and scheduling features, our housekeeping optimization, automated and accurate payroll export, our smart time clock and Smile ID, and then what we're honing in on this call, real-time reporting and predictive analytics. The key and the backbone, we believe, to a successful labor management experience is first setting up your models, creating the perfect budget by position, in addition to the forecast, estimating projected demand accurately, equals allocating the workforce efficiently through your schedule. With labor reports, what are labor reports and why do they matter? Labor reports are more than just time tracking. They're powerful tools that give us visibility into how our workforce is performing. They show us where time and money are being spent, help us monitor productivity, and highlight areas for improvement. With clear data on hours worked, labor costs, and efficiency, we can make smarter decisions, whether that means adjusting staffing, managing budgets, or improving processes. In short, labor reports help us optimize how we use our people, driving better results across the board. What are some key metrics you can expect in labor reports? Hours worked, total time employees spend on tasks or project, labor costs, direct and indirect costs associated with labor, including wages, benefits, and taxes, utilization rate, the percentage of billable hours compared to the total hours worked, indicating workforce efficiency. Overtime is a huge one, hours worked beyond the standard work week, often incurring higher costs. Schedule adherence measures how closely employees adhere to their assigned work schedules. And labor cost as a percentage of revenue indicates a proportion of revenue spent on labor costs, helping assess profitability. There are a ton of people who find value out of these reports. I know that some personas will find value in certain reports more than others, but we feel that labor reports are important to all of these different roles that are listed here, from general managers to revenue managers to scheduling coordinators, housekeeping managers, etc. For those of you who may have not accessed the report feature in the labor module, we wanted to provide screenshots that you can back reference when you receive this resource after the call, so you know exactly where to access them within your Inflow account. When you go into the labor module portion of your inflow profile, you can then select reports. From there, you will see a report gallery button that will lead you to the full suite of our labor reports. You will have the opportunity to schedule reports that are ones that you want to see on a frequency basis, and they will list out here as you start adding them once you're scheduling them to be delivered. Now we're going to get into the exciting stuff. So what are our top 10 labor reports that our users are utilizing today? On each of the report outlines, we're going to go through the purpose. We'll highlight key filters for you to back reference once you have this resource. And we'll also list out who we think will find the most value from these reports. We'll also go over business value and give you a screenshot of what a report looks like. So starting with number 1, Labor and Accounting Daily Flash. The purpose of this report is that it combines both accounting and labor daily flash data. There are a few key fields and filters, date, groups, accounts, and the report is used primarily that we find by owners and regional managers.
Yep. And then for the kind of give you a visual of what this report looks like Katie said, it's mostly used by owners and regional managers. It's also best used for running it for multiple hotels. Value of just looking at this for one hotel isn't really there. It's more for multiple. It's there to give you a high level overview of how the hotels really performed today versus last year for occupancy and top line. It also displays your AR balances as a snapshot, as well as your labor hours compared to budget. So again, kind of high level along with the total of how a portfolio has performed for a specific day.
Awesome. Number 2, Daily Labor Flash, Labor Hours Variance. This report allows you to quickly see if your labor actuals and budget are aligned every day, ensuring that you're meeting weekly goals. We feel that this is most used by, and what we've seen it's most used by, is owners, regional managers, and general managers.
Yep. So it's used to monitor labor hours daily compared to budget and see just how close the hotels can get to be close to 100%. So if the hotels are at 100% on the right side, then your actuals are spot on to budget. And any variances are a part of just the typical daily GM approvals to be explained in the labor overview scorecard. So it's also a helpful report for owners and regional managers to view all the hotels together, all in a single report.
The Labor Flash is the third most used report by our clients. It's a snapshot of labor data by department, room statistics, and revenue for a selected week. General managers are commonly the one that are utilizing this report.
Yeah, so since this report is used for one hotel at a time, it's just really beneficial for a report, mostly for the GMs and any department heads. It does combine the accounting snapshot from the daily activity daily flash, plus the total hours by position, as well as your housekeeping minutes per cleaned room into a single report. So it shows how you've been trending for the last 7 days. It's important to review to see why some days may be over budget and just to make some staffing, making sure that the staffing aligns to occupancy. So also having the housekeeping metrics at the bottom of the report just gives you visibility into that position for the week. So this is definitely a helpful one to set up to be auto emailed. So that way it's sent to you in the morning for how the week has been trending.
Absolutely. Number 4, Labor Summary and OTAR. So this includes overtime, 1 pay periods, and 1 EHID can be selected. There's a ton of key fields and filters. You can do it by department, by position, a ton of toggles that are optional to turn on and off. And the big thing is that you compare actuals to scheduled and or budgeted. So this is used by owners, regional managers, and general managers.
Yep. So kind of going back to the reports that are more the top level, the labor summary report shows the hours compared to budget by department and or by position for the current pay period. So the purpose of this is to monitor how the pay period is progressing while also highlighting at the bottom the overtime at risk to try and avoid this when possible. So it shows the information at the bottom. Should you be able to move any shifts around? That same functionality is also highlighted for the general managers, that overtime at risk section within the labor overview page. So over there, there are also alerts to highlight anyone that is projected to hit overtime based off of their actual hours and future schedule. So it's something that's important to be highlighted and can be sent in a report as well.
Labor summary by date range. This is a different variation of the report we just went over, but this does not include overtime and it can be run for multiple hotels over any given date range. Has similar key fields and filters, and again, it's used by very similar personas, owners, regional managers, and general managers.
Yep. So the purpose of this report, like Katie said, it's just valuable because it does show the hours by department or position compared to budget per day, and it can just be ran for a very wide range. So if you are monitoring, your labor and you want to see how the hours compared to budget for the prior month, you can look at it not so much just at a per pay period, but for a whole month or a longer period of time as well.
Another variation of the two previous reports is T2W. This does not include overtime and can be run for multiple EHIDs. This is trailing two. So similar key fields and filters, same personas, owners, regional managers, and general managers.
Yep, so same audience as the last report. This version of the labor summary can show the hours and dollars by day for the last 2 weeks compared to budget. Like Katie said, you can run it for multiple hotels at once and also provide the breakdown by department and or position. The importance of this report is to just look for any days that stand out that we highlight in red that are over budget.
The next report is housekeeping assignments. This is all data pertaining to housekeeping assignments tab. The key filters are date range, and then you can filter it by hotel. We see that this report is commonly used by executive housekeepers.
Yep. So it tracks the housekeeping minutes per cleaned room on average for the time frame that you do select. Something that the housekeeping managers typically run. We do see a lot of regionals running this as well, or GMs. Should you want to use this for monitoring performance, we've seen people use it in employee reviews or even bonus plans that may be based off of these housekeeping metrics.
The no punch report is commonly used by a lot of our clients. Any employees that have missed a punch during a selective period of time can be outlined in this report. You can filter it by state, hotel brand, franchise brand, or hotel in a given date range. This is commonly used by owners, general managers, and department heads.
Yep. So the no punch report just highlights any employees that were scheduled but did not actually punch in or out for that shift. So it can be ran for a date range for multiple hotels at once, used to highlight possible employee performance issues or even punch fraud related to manual punch forms. So definitely something that the GMs, HR, or department heads want to review should you have any employee performance or just some interpretation as far as the punches go.
Getting down to our final two, average hour worked was number 9. So this provides the average hours worked over a period of time. We find that this is commonly used by owners and human resource departments. Going into the report itself.
Yep. So mostly used, like Katie said, owners, HR for things like benefit tracking, PTO tracking, as well as full and part-time updates.
Wrapping it up with our final report, HR reports the anniversary list. So each employee's anniversary date, which is pulled from their user management profile, is aggregated in this report. Lots of key fields and filters for you to get exactly what you're looking for from this report, and it's most commonly used by human resources and general managers.
Yeah, I would say this report is most commonly used for things like benefit eligibility and just overall tracking, or if you want to honor the anniversaries on a per month basis. Like Katie said, there's a lot of good information that's provided in this report, but definitely something that more GMs or HR might want to review on a month-to-month basis. So other commonly run reports. So the contractor report, if you do have any hotels that have contractors, which are people that you either pay directly or through a third party, that is probably another very top report that's used if you do have contractors. Our break at a station report is more so for our California properties that do have that meal break report that you might have to run before processing payroll. We have employee wage per hours for that comparison hotel to hotel, average hours worked. The punch history has a lot of different versions. The punch history report is really more so specific to employees, whereas some of them can be focused as far as the hotel level and giving you an overview. The other two HR related reports are birthday lists, and also if you do want to track your employee performance reviews, it can tell you what you have coming up or what might be overdue. The last three is we do have a PTO history report, so you can run that for your properties to see what everyone's PTO balances are, what they've earned thus far. And you can also run it on a per employee basis if should anyone have questions or want to see their actual history related to PTO. There is a report specific to overtime at risk, also just something that is commonly ran, but it is also in the labor overview page. And then, of course, our scheduled print report. So I know when you guys do go and publish your schedule, you have the ability to print the schedule then. But if you forget or you want to just create another copy of that, the scheduled print report is also an option. So Katie pointed out earlier where you can save a lot of these to like your main report gallery. So make sure if there are any commonly used reports that you have, go ahead and save those as your favorites. That way on the labor side, when you go into the reports, it can show up there. Katie, back to you.
Awesome. So just in summary, we wanted to kind of give you a snapshot of why we feel that labor is extremely valuable and why reporting and analytics are so important specifically. So as Kelsey mentioned, automating these reports and scheduling them so that you can receive in your inbox these reports at any frequency that you need, being able to ensure that payroll is accurate and on budget, and then just staffing trends, monitoring early and late punches, no-shows, and more. We believe that the labor reporting tool allows you to make those smarter decisions that drive better results and hopefully save you budget. So we're really excited that this is a part of the tool, and we wanted to take time in this webinar to really highlight and hone into this feature specifically. With that being said, we are going to move on to our Q&A portion. So you can feel free to either come off of mute and ask your question, or you can put a question in the chat and we can definitely speak it on your behalf.
Yep. And one question that did come directly over to me is that relative to role permission. So if there are any of these reports that we've shown on the screen that you do not have access to, just reach out to a manager. It is all relative to role permission. So Inflow is not allowed to grant access to these. It would have to come from another manager. So make sure that if there is anything that you find helpful, reach out to them and have them add that to your role permission within Inflow. Some feedback saying will we have some, lost the chat, webinar for best practices for processing payroll. We can definitely add that to the list of feedback, and we appreciate Nancy you jumping ahead. That was going to be our next option to give us some ideas on what you would like to see.
Yeah, we will make it happen. We'll get it on the webinar roadmap through the 2025. Jason, I see you have your hand raised. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, I was asking about the T2W report. Could you kind of go over what that is again, please?
Yeah, if you want to just jump back maybe to that screen. So the T2, that would be a trailing 2 weeks. So it shows how the labor is trending for the day that you select and the 2 weeks before that.
So trailing 2 weeks, but not forecasting, right?
I think it was slide. Hang on, let me see.
I had it and then it didn't present on the slide. There it is.
There we go. So no, I think that the T2, that is a trailing 2 weeks. So it shows
Yes.
the prior 2 weeks. It doesn't show the future. I think go up 2 slides, I think, number 5. The one that has the overtime at risk, I think that one does show it with the future dates.
Okay.
But
All
it
right.
these reports only pull in actuals. So the only thing that is pulling in for the future schedule is the overtime at risk at the bottom. But the top portion of what she's showing, those are just going to pull in your actual punches for the day.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Some other helpful tips. So if you do want to see the productivity, not in a report, make sure that you are looking at the performance page. Performance page, you can see it by department, and there's also a tab for by employee. So make sure you are looking at that. That's very helpful to look at on the performance tab, toggling between department and employee as well. I think someone else raised their hand.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is like, so as we all know, like the effectiveness of these reports and the usage of these reports like depends on, like the data that we entered, right? So what would you recommend to the GMs for the GMs, right? So then like by what time they must have their data ready for yesterday, or how they should be keeping up with maintaining their quality data.
Yeah, I would definitely say that on the labor overview page, that's going to highlight kind of like the GM's to-do list.
Okay.
So on that page, those boxes at the top, make sure you're going through each of those on a daily basis. The purpose of that, especially on the daily GM approvals, because that's going to highlight any auto punch outs, which is when someone punches in but forgets to punch out, and so the system automatically clocked them out. It will also show you the breakdown of your total hours compared to budget, as well as tracking your housekeeping labor. So I would highly recommend that daily GM approval being completed on a daily basis, whether it's in the morning or, midday, whenever you get time to kind of sit down at your computer and completing that on a daily basis.
Okay, makes sense. Yep. Thank you for your advice. Yeah.
Of course. A question came in about, is there a clock in, clock out report? So there is a punch history report, a lot of different versions in that. So play around with that, Granvir, and see if that is going to tell you what you need. There's a report that you can run your punch history for the whole hotel. It's going to give you a lot of data. There's also a punch history timesheet or a time card report that will give you that information to you per person. So depending on kind of the format that you're looking for, I would definitely focus on the punch history versions if you want to see punches in and out. And then as far as the best report available to monitor employee performance, would probably want some more information on exactly what you're trying to review there. In the performance page, if you click the employee tab, might give you a little bit more highlights if anyone is constantly over their schedule. So I think it'll highlight it in red if you're constantly, let's say you schedule them 8 hours and they're working 8.5 or 9, which might highlight the kind of like milking the clock, so to speak. So I'd probably focus on the performance tab on the by employee side.
Kelsey, I have a question. This is Gulbir. So I was talking to our friend Harmeet and that group, those guys that are managing 32 hotels. One of the things they do is they have pretty much everybody, including GMs, even salaried and non-salaried employees, clock in and out. And the purpose of that is for them to determine if, let's say, a GM is working 50 hours, 60 hours, right? Just way too many hours, right? And maybe they shouldn't be working that much. So they're looking at it they're looking at both, are they clocking in, clocking out, but more for why are they spending, so much time? They should not be in the hotel that much, which means other departments and other people are not doing their job. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and it's interesting. Back in the day, I don't think, managers really ever clocked in or out, but I think nowadays and really since COVID, a lot of people are requiring the managers to clock in or out. They're still going to get paid their same 40, 80 hours per pay period. But it's also just knowing, like you said, Gambir, like who is at the hotel and how long you're there. So I've definitely seen a huge shift in a lot of people scheduling their salaried employees, because that way also the people that are at the hotel know when their managers are going to be there as well. So there's actually a lot of benefits to doing that. It's not like you're playing Big Brother and watching them, making sure they're going to be there. But also, like you said, if they're working 80 hours a week and they're making their points of frustration, you can actually see that, and you can see how long they're coming in and how long they're coming out. Some concerns with that is, you can see change logs, you can see if they're manipulating the data or manually typing that in. But I think it's definitely become a lot more popular of a thing for people to do, probably since the last, I'd say, 3 years or so.
I'm assuming there's a way to set that up to say everybody clocks in and out. There's a
Yeah,
setting
you
in.
just put them on the schedule. There's some enterprise settings that you would toggle on to include the salary managers in the total hours. So that way they can show that. And if you do schedule them and they don't punch in or out, it flags it just like anyone else.
Okay, and then the GM can overwrite that.
Yep. Yeah, if they need to, they can override it. But again, even if you forget to punch in or out for a week or just a day, they're still going to be paid for those certain hours, but it is a good practice just to have them. That way you know who's physically on property for safety reasons as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Another question in the chat was for clocking in and out settings. What is the best way to modify and initiate the 5-minute rule?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. That's something that is controlled on the corporate level. So for any of those enterprise settings, what's mentioned there is that when employees are scheduled, their name doesn't show up on the time clock until 5 minutes before their schedule. You do have the functionality to increase that, but it is controlled on the corporate level. So if it is something that you would want to increase to 7, 10, 30, just reach out to your manager or a person at your corporate team for that feedback, and we can definitely help them with that adjustment, but it is something that can be controlled per company.
The next question, for employees, is there any option available to submit manual punch request?
That's a really good feedback item. Currently there is not, but that's a really good thing to take back so we can get it to the product team to see about that. Really good feedback to have. I know that there is a labor app coming out here probably in the next, say, 4 to 8 weeks. So that's something that maybe we can look at adding in the future. So thank you for that feedback. And then the question about the good report for showing employee missed shifts, so for unemployment purposes, yeah, I would definitely focus on that no punch report that we looked at earlier. The no punch report will highlight anyone that is scheduled that did not physically have a punch in or out. On that same topic in regards to unemployment or even like workers' comp audits, so you do have the functionality for the employees to approve their time card. So when they do punch out for their last shift for the week, I think they are prompted at the time clock to approve their timesheet. So if you do go into the timesheets tab, you'll be able to see anything that is approved or disputed. So if you want some more information, that functionality, let us know, but they do have that functionality too. So then that way, if they are approving their timesheet, if they ever dispute it, during some audit or some case, you can see, hey, no, you approved it at that point. Yeah, Nancy, we can get some more information sent over to you on how to do that. Oh, really good questions.
Yeah, great questions. Thank you all so much. Any other ones that come to mind? And of course, you can always reach out after the webinar if something pops up and you have a question. But any other ones that you want to address on the call today? All right. Nancy, to your point, we do have a form that I'll be sending out after that you can complete about any future webinar ideas. So if this caught your brain wheeling of different ideas of topics that you want us to dive into more on future webinars, we would love to hear about them. Yes, the recording will be emailed. We're actually going to put it into a knowledge base article and that link will be sent. So you all will have access to all of the materials that were showcased today. One last question that came in. General manager here is not getting alerts for the schedule to view it when published. Employees can all see and get alerts.
All right, we will take a look at that and we can reach out to you on that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Nancy. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. As I mentioned, you'll be getting follow-up from us, and we really appreciate you spending part of your Wednesday learning more about labor reports. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.